how did you guys meet? Because it's such a good intersection of experiences.
Yeah.
That it can't be a coincidence.
Yeah,
Can it?
it's actually quite a coincidence. Shout out to Anne. She's a friend. The person who actually started Vale Venture in NYU Abu Dhabi became a friend at NYU Abu Dhabi. Then she went to work for Antler as well, and so she worked with Akshat. And
Okay.
then, um, and then some random time, Akshat was like, "Let me start building this," and she knew that I was building a hacker house, so I was trying to put people together.
No, wait. So he started building a hacker house.
Started building a community for deep tech in MENA.
Okay.
And I was trying to build a hacker house in Dubai.
Okay.
And so Anne was like, these two ideas are quite close. Let me connect these two people. And fun fact, I didn't know at the time, but the first call we had was, actually I was in Australia at the time, I was in Abu Dhabi, and it was his birthday. So like, it was literally meant to be. And then we called, we like hit it off, we're like, okay, we're doing something very similar. Let's see, let's keep talking, let's see what happens. And then we're like, this is literally, let's just work together, it just makes more sense. And then he bought a one-way ticket to Dubai, moved to Dubai as well from Abu Dhabi, and then just
Love the one-way ticket
yeah.
strategy.
gotta again risk, right?
It is true that some of the best memories can sometimes be created in person and not virtually. But what's even more interesting is that it's in these face-to-face interactions that people tend to be the most creative. And that's when innovation can really happen. This brings us to today's episode with Guglielmo, one of the founders of Arrayah, a startup which is looking to solve this exact challenge by bringing people together in order to build, create, and innovate. I'm really excited to bring you this episode, and I hope you enjoy. So, you're starting a venture that nobody in the Middle East has ever tried to attempt, and I'm curious to know why. But before we even delve into that, I think it would be better for the viewers and listeners to just sort of know what Arrayah is all about.
Amazing, yes. So Arrayah is a hacker house. For the people who are not familiar with a hacker house is a place where people can come live together, and then we build companies together. That hasn't been done in the MENA region. We've seen it in San Francisco, we've seen it in New York, in Berlin, but we're like, why not in MENA? There's so much talent, let's do it here. So that's why we started Arrayah.
But I'm curious now to know, why do you think nobody has ever tried to build something similar?
I think MENA is a very interesting ecosystem. Like the trajectory at which it's growing, it's incredible. In the past few years, we've seen the first M&A transaction, the first unicorn coming out, Tabi Tamara. I'm sure you're familiar. And that has led to also increased VC funding. It's an ecosystem that is growing. The country, the UAE itself, is 52 years old, so you can imagine, like it's a very new place to be. And I think talent now is coming in. There's universities that are finally, for example, NYU opens the campus here. Now IIT will open a campus. So I think there's more talent. And when there's talent, you need places for this talent to be. And Arrayah wants to position itself as the place where all these young people can come build companies together.
Awesome. So I think it's pretty interesting because you could have picked anywhere around the world, right? You could have gone to an already mature market, like as you said, San Francisco, but you decided to choose Dubai in particular, and not even another market which is also up and coming like Riyadh. So why did you pick Dubai as your starting point?
Very good question. And I think, well, it was really close to home. So I studied in NYU Abu Dhabi for 4 years. So I've been in the UAE for 4 years. So I was in Abu Dhabi. And I think Abu Dhabi is great. I think it's a bit more of a mature city, more family oriented, I would say. Dubai is where all the conferences, where all the innovation is. They're both in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, but we thought that Dubai was really the place where a lot of people fly in. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of things happening. And we thought that was really the best place to start. Riyadh, for example, I've been there last year. And I think it's on the same trajectory as Dubai and Abu Dhabi, just a few years behind. So I'm sure, well, I'll tell you more about the plans that we have, but Riyadh is definitely in the roadmap for Arrayah and MENA, the MENA ecosystem.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable actually. I think something that's also very interesting is that you're having second time, third time founders now come to Dubai, which makes the ecosystem, it gives the ecosystem a head start already, because these are people that have already built global companies and they're coming here to one of the most connected places on a global scale. So yeah, 100% agree with you. The other part is, what gap do you think actually exists in the ecosystem, and how is Arrayah sort of trying to fit into that?
I'll give you an example. So when I was in NYU Abu Dhabi, I took over Vale Venture, which is a group of students that try to organize an event and trying to teach young people what entrepreneurship and venture capital is. And that group was non-existent. People were really struggling to try to get into this ecosystem, trying to figure out what a startup is. So Vale Venture was trying to bridge the gap at the university level. Then some of my friends that then joined the group, then learned from people such as Magnus, from really big entrepreneurs that came to talk to us. They learned what a startup is, they got passionate, they started building. And then they were like, what am I doing next? Like I have a first MVP, I have a first solution that I've created. Do I take a gap year? What do I do? Do I go to the US to meet other people that are on the same path as me? And so there was really not a place for them in the UAE itself. And some of my friends flew to New York, took a semester off, they went to SF. And we were like, why? The talent is here. There's so many opportunities here. Venture capital funding is here. Why are people flying outside?
Yeah.
So the gap that we saw was these younger people between probably 20 and 25, when you're still in uni or just graduated from uni a few years into their careers. They're starting something and they want to go full-time on it. They want to really commit to it. And they don't really have infrastructure for that. For example, places such as Antler, Hub 21 are amazing. And we think they're part of the ecosystem. They're a crucial part in the ecosystem. But they usually target founders that are like repeat founder or they've had already their career in the corporate world. And then they want to build something.
Yeah.
We want to go even earlier. We want to back those outliers, the people that are like committed to something. They don't have a track record, but we think they're amazing. There's a few things that we notice in these people and we really believe in them.
So bringing on this point, so usually in the innovation lifecycle or the startup's lifecycle, you'd have like different people working on different stuff. So you'd have idea incubators, which help you everything with just finding the right idea and trying to build the early stages of the idea. Then you have accelerators, which try to take your idea into a viable business. And then you have early stage VC funding. So I'm curious to know where Arrayah sort of places itself within this ecosystem.
Okay, yes. We thought quite a bit about this roadmap that a builder has. And you start with like just ideation. And I think maybe you heard the Build Space, it was the school for people to work on their ideas. Fortunately shut down.
So just for the viewers, you could tell them what Build Space is.
So Farzad, the founder of Build Space, created a school where he would have 6-week program online where he would teach people how to come up with an idea, how to like validate it, how to get the first customer, fully online. And it could be anything. It could be a YouTube channel. It could be learning how to do a handstand. And it was just a matter of like building an idea and putting it out there in the world.
And it was very successful. Very
successful. Very interesting story. So that's the first step. When someone like comes up with an idea, starts working on it, and builds something like at the very beginning of an idea. And then you realize, most of these people realize, well, not most of the people, a lot of these people at BuildSpace realize that they really want to go full-time on it. They really wanted to make this happen. And that's where you need to find a place where you can commit to this, to your idea, build it in full. And it's often too early for VC because, again, these people are often young, these people are just starting. And it's often also accelerator. If you want to find a co-founder, there's amazing accelerator for that. But sometimes it's not the best fit. You just really want a place surrounded by other people that are also working on their ideas for you to fully go on it. And that's where Arrayah comes in. We want to be the place where these people can take the bet on themselves and work on this for an extended period of time. After Arrayah, there's multiple other pieces in the creation of a company. And those are bigger accelerators, for example, YC, or in the local ecosystem, Hub 71, for example. And then VC can come in. VC actually can come in already at the end of our cohorts. We do a demo day. They can invest in the people from our cohorts. But that's kind of where Arrayah sits in the ecosystem.
Lovely. So just more about sort of your thesis about how innovation comes together. One thing which I mentioned to them is the idea of how innovation happens when people are in a place sharing sort of have the same physical presence, right? But they're all working towards a similar goal. So why do you think that is going to make the big difference when it comes to innovation, when people can just come together online?
Building a company is not easy. I think that's a fundamental truth. It's like, it's hard, it sucks. There's so many things that are hard about it, and you're gonna find so many obstacles. And I'll give you an example, our first cohort where we had a house in City Walk, and there were like 5 people plus me and my co-founder, Akshat. And the energy that was in the house, you could not find it anywhere else. Like, so many of these builders were already building in their homes, wherever, India, Egypt, Nepal, US. But they were alone, right? They were just working in the room, grinding it out. And they all came together, and then it would just, the energy was just different. You would wake up and there was someone writing code and then like getting stuck, and then the other person had already written those same like AI algorithm. They would ask for help, and things just get done faster. People can help each other, and then two people actually became co-founder, for example. So that happened only in person. It's really hard to make it happen online. That's why I think Buildsit was struggling a little bit. Online, amazing, but then when you put people together in the same room, it just works so much better from support, from like motivating each other. And then we would also do one of our theses. It's you shouldn't just be a better builder, you should be a better human. Like if you want to build a company, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. You should try to be as healthy as possible. You should have healthy routines. So we would like work out together, do social stuff together. You can't just always code. So you need to also, have some fun here and then. So all of this can only happen in real life, right?
That's amazing, man. So I know that you've had the first chapter, which you sort of briefly talked about.
Yeah.
But tell us more about your experience. I know the first iteration of everything, or anything actually, is where you learn the most. So what were some of the key lessons that you took out from the first chapter?
So first chapter was from August to September, so about a month ago. And it was really like a wow moment when we reached out to so many people, a bunch of people reached out to us, we made it happen. And then the day that people showed up in the house, we were like, okay, this is insane, this is happening, people are here.
This is real right now.
Exactly. It was just an amazing, euphoric moment. And the month happened, it flew by actually. It was very interesting. We had a program structure with fireside chat, with mentorship, with demo day at the end. And at the end of the cohort, we realized, as you were saying, there's a lot of learning from your MVP, from your first test, from your first validation. One of the biggest one was the people, like the co-living part was an essential aspect. So we had 5 people living with us and 50 people co-working with us from the IFC. We noticed that the people in the house, the energy, the bonding, the relationship that you build by living together with someone is just different than someone that you can co-work with. And that's why for chapter 2 and hopefully for the future chapters as well, we want to have more emphasis on the co-living part of it. So when I get given more opportunity to people to live with us, so probably 10 to 12 people will live with us for chapter 2.
Yeah.
So that was definitely the biggest learning. The other thesis that we validated was that people wanted to come to Dubai. So some of these people had never been to Dubai. They flew in for the first time. One person actually had never flown out of their country, and this was their first international trip. Took a bet on Dubai, came here. 2 people wanted to hire him, found 3 clients. It was insane, right? So people can come here, and this is an amazing ecosystem that is very accepting of these people. And there was also something that we wanted to validate. We did in chapter 1. We want to do the same in chapter 2, just even better and bigger.
So walk me through sort of what were the type of founders that were drawn into Arrayah? Because at the end of the day, this is something new.
Yeah.
And they're taking a lot of risk, especially when you just mentioned somebody traveling for the first time outside of their country, just to come to Arrayah, to build something in a space that they may not even know anything about. So walk me through the type of founders that were sort of drawn to your initiative.
So me and Akshat are both engineers by background. So we have this interest, fascination, call it whatever you want, for deep tech ideas, ideas that will really push the needle of humanity forward. So we had a lot of applications. I think it was over 600 applications. We interviewed a bunch of people and then eventually tuned it down to 20. We still had a preference for people that were trying to push the boundaries, such as we had people genetically modifying spirulina or working on data from low Earth satellites, some
And
crazy
how old
ideas.
are they?
The range was from 15 to 25. So some people very early on in their journey, they were so ambitious. And that's what we really want to back, right?
And you don't discriminate between age?
No, because I think those people need the most support, right? The support that you can give to these people will compound and they're going to be an amazing founder in the future.
Yeah.
So we had people that were working on some of the insane ideas. We had some people working on really sick marketing tools, plug my product, someone that was doing more SaaS stuff. But it was really about the people. We were really looking at people. So we think that when you're so young, your idea might change in the future, right? You're working on it right now. You're super passionate. You go for it. You make even some money. But then you realize that's not your life work. That's not your biggest dream, right? And you want to change. And that's why you should look at the person more than the idea itself. So we're looking at people that are, the willpower, they have the motivation to do what they're doing. No one is forcing them, right? All of these people were taking a bet. They could be in school, they could be finding a corporate job, but no, they're working on their ideas. And that's what we're really passionate about. That's what we really wanted to back.
I love that, really. So walk me through some of the companies that actually came out, or some of the ideas that we, for example, might think they're wild, but you believed in and you started to back within the first chapter.
So during demo day, we actually had 2 prizes. I'll just speak about those 2, but there were a lot of amazing ideas. One was actually the spirulina one. So the person working on that was trying to, she believes that we're going to be on Mars in the next 10, 12 years. And on Mars, there's a lot of toxic substances that will kill any plants that we currently have on Earth that we want to plant there. So she's trying to genetically modify the organisms so that when we go on Mars, we can actually plant them there, and that can be the food source for the people that are going to be on the planet Mars, which is insane. I was like,
It's insane.
I would have never thought of that, especially at 15 years old. So that was
Wow.
mind-blowing. Or that idea, the one on the prices at Demo Day instead, was trying to create a value chain for algae. So algae eutrophication is a big problem. Lakes and sea often, there's an abundance of algae because of fertilizers. And these algae often kills the fauna and flora of the sea and lakes. And instead, these algae can be turned into product, for example, for cosmetic industry and stuff. And no one has really created a whole ecosystem. She's building a consultancy firm around some research that she did at Berkeley to be able to utilize this algae and then so solve both problems, both that for the ecosystem as well as the money problem for cosmetic industries.
These ideas are insane, coming out of 15 to 25-year-olds.
Insane.
This is not normal. This is not the normal human being for sure.
Yeah.
So, how do you see Arrayah as a business? I mean, it's all fun and games. Everyone is together, building together. But at the end of the day, it incurs a cost. How do you see Arrayah turning into a business?
Yes, very good question. So again, we did our first, we call it instead of MVP, minimum viable product, we call it minimum viable residency. It's our first residency, right? And we didn't really care about the money. We were like, let's validate a few of these theses that we have, such as the talent wants to come in, people here are interested. It's a fertile ecosystem for these younger people to build. And we did that, it works. Now we're like, how do we make it sustainable? We want to have, the goal is to make as much impact as we can in these younger people, right? How do we make it sustainable? Otherwise, it's just going to be, burning money. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So there's different things that we want to explore, all the way from hackathon and corporate innovation. So going, for example, to a big firm here in the region and be like, you're trying to, for example, be more green, or you're trying to use AI into your product. We're going to provide amazing talent that's going to solve your problems. Mm-hmm. You can provide us with a problem statement, and then we're going to solve for it. And then it's going to become a corporate innovation, and it can be in the format of hackathons. Mm-hmm. That's one venue. It's been done in the US a lot. Again, we haven't seen it here in MENA that much. We can probably be the place that, talent, problem, let's solve it.
Yep.
That's one path. The other path is we want to invest in these people, meaning that we are giving them space, we're providing them support, we're giving them mentors and all of that. But some of these ideas really need money at the end of the day, right? Like, that's why we have a demo day at the end. Mm-hmm. We bring in VCs, we bring capital allocators, and we hope that, again, there's a match for them to actually receive funding. We want to provide that infrastructure for funding as Arrayah itself. And there's a few paths that we're exploring, mm-hmm. all the way from syndicate, where we have a network of people that are willing to invest, and we provide deal flow to them, and they invest. That can be done either with individuals or with VC. So we go to VC and we're like, do you want to invest in the Arrayah founders? And then we can come up with a monetization structure for the deal flow. The other thing is program fee. We want to stay away from, or we want to try to stay away from taking money or equity from people in our cohort. Yeah. Just because that scares away the best funder, and we want to try to retain the best funder here. We want to attract the best funders. Okay. But it's something that has been done elsewhere, and we're exploring. If we believe we provide enough value, actually we provide a lot of value. The NPS score was 96% for the first cohort, which is really high. So we think we provide enough value that we can probably charge a program fee, but that won't really solve the scalability model of Arrayah. So we're still exploring. There's a few things that we're testing on in chapter 2. So there's going to be more after. Well, it's going to end in December. So I'm definitely going to have more info there.
Lovely. So one thing you said is that at such an early stage, or when you're young, your ideas could change a lot, mm-hmm. right? You might explore a venture for a year, for 2 years, but then decide that it is not right for you. Yeah. But at the same time, you're trying to back these ventures. So my question here is, how do you place your bets on the right talent, especially when the one that won was a 15-year-old. Yeah.
So I've been in VC before starting Arrayah, and VC is an access game, meaning that if you have access to the best funder at the right moment when they're building the right idea, well, you kind of won the jackpot. So you can put their bets in, and these people will skyrocket. Mm-hmm. You need to have access to these people, and it's not easy. Like there's the whole scout world where people go out there, are in the right community, and try to find these people. At Arrayah, these people come to us. We live with them for 1-2 months, depending on the cohort. and we literally see the ins and outs of them, like how they work, what breaks them, what are the challenges, do we think they're going to continue, like how hard they're working. Like there's so many things that you can only see if you actually live with these people. Usually venture capital firms receive a pitch deck via email, they probably hop on a call. If the call is good, they hop on another call.
And everything is just surface level.
Exactly. They spend like an hour. They do a lot of due diligence in the background, which is amazing. They do understand the market, but then you don't really fully understand the person unless you spend a lot of time with them. And that's exactly what Arrayah is. We spend 2 months with these people. We live together, right? So our thesis is that by living with these people, and we've already seen the first cohort, that we kind of understand who's going to be someone that will continue on this idea, or perhaps will change the idea, but will stick at it. Will, no matter what, they will make it happen. And the people that instead are like, startups are cool. I want to check what a startup is. Let me try it, but it's not really for me. Like you understand that.
Yeah.
Maybe the first meeting you don't get a sense of it, but then after 2 months you're like, okay, you know where these people are going to go.
Yeah.
And so we try to bet on the person rather than the idea. As I was telling before, some of these ideas, I'm sure they will change. But some of these people, we know that they're going to continue building some really cool stuff. And we want to support them, not just at Arrayah, but after riots as well. So we have group chat with all these people, and they keep texting us for things, and we want to support them throughout. So we hope
and at the end of the day, you're building a community.
Exactly. We want to be part of their journey as they build, right?
So I'm curious to know, how do you invest into a person? Like I've heard this before, the idea of investors investing into people and not the ideas, or investing into people instead of the business. And we've seen that some companies are able to raise a lot of money just because of the team. So my question is, how do you invest into people? What does that mean, just for the viewers?
Well, that's a delicate thing and depends on the registration. But the idea is that like you write some form of contract that basically says that whatever company you're going to start, like you give them money on a safe note, which is a standard YC model. And then based in the next, you said a time frame, in the next 3 years, if you build a company, you raise money, this money that I just gave you will convert into the cap table of the company whenever you raise funding in the future. It's a little tricky. Again, it depends. Underage people, that's not allowed. So it's definitely we're still navigating that. But again, we have support, luckily, of some amazing people that are helping us on the legal side. Work in progress, but I think...
So this has never been done here?
I'm actually not sure. I'm sure people have done it, but again, you don't want to be in the gray area, right? You want to have everything pinned out. And we're trying to have everything laid down and be sure we're not doing anything that you can't do, right? Definitely done in the US. We got inspired by a hacker house that has been done in the US. They've done it already, but again, laws are different here, so we need to navigate it again.
So I remember when the first time we talked, you told me that your plan is to go absolutely global.
Yes.
Right? So it's the idea of like, I could build 3 months in Dubai, then I can go like 3 months in Riyadh, then I can go like to SF, and I can go Australia if I want.
Yeah.
So how do you think, how are you planning on sort of scaling with the challenges that exist? I mean, you have to have physical locations.
Yeah.
Also, there could be a negative correlation between the amount of people that you have versus the level of support that they can get. So how are you thinking about all of these challenges?
So I agree with you. The goal of Arrayah is to have a home anywhere around the world for this ambitious builder, meaning that like, I'm Italian and I want to like build something for the German market. I should be able to have a place that I can go to and be surrounded by other people, some of them probably from Germany, they can help me navigate the German ecosystem. Vice versa, when I go to SF, do the same thing there. It should be possible. Right now, it's really hard. There's only a few of these hacker houses around the world. We want to make this network much stronger. Starting from Dubai, partnering up with the residency in SF, New York, Berlin, Bangalore.
So what's the residency again?
A residency is a very similar model of these hacker houses. They also, we share a very similar vision of building this network of hacker houses in the world. So we're partnering to make this even bigger and better.
Oh, so you guys are
exactly, we're
collaborating
working on this. We have a very similar vision, so we're like, why not let's just do it together? It just makes much more sense. So they currently have in San Francisco, New York, London, Berlin, and Bangalore. We're doing Dubai, we will do Abu Dhabi, we'll do Riyadh, we'll do all around MENA. That's a goal. And I agree with you, it's really hard to scale and keep the quality. We've seen other programs around the world where unfortunately the quality was not retained as they were trying to scale really fast.
Yeah.
It really depends on the team. So we believe that me and Akshay will operationalize each of these houses. So when we start a new house, we're probably going to be the one running it. But then the goal after a few cohorts is to find someone who share the same vision, same passion, same goals, who will run the program for us. We call them community architects. We're scouting for the one in Dubai. And that's kind of work in progress, but the idea again, few cohorts, and then we pass it on to someone else. Real estate, it's also very interesting. So the idea is that like in the future, we potentially could do either a year-long lease or even own the houses that we want to do these cohorts in.
Yeah.
And that's again, it's a bigger vision, but that would be interesting as well.
So I wanted to speak about innovation like beyond Arrayah. One thing that I always sort of advocate for is the idea of us in the MENA region being more of a consumer than a producer. So, and there is very, very strong government initiatives across the region for us to transition from a consumer-based economy to a producer-based economy. So do you think that Arrayah sort of fits within that vision? And how do you think you'll be able to contribute to that?
As I was saying before, I think I'm very bullish on MENA. I'm very bullish on the UAE. I think all this very visionary leadership, for example, the agendas that the government have been pushing out to make sure that the country reaches certain objective by 2030, 2050. Most of these agenda have very ambitious goal, tackling all the way from AI to sustainability to green energy. And well, not many other countries in the world are doing something so
Yeah.
far-fetched and so far in the future. And I think that's remarkable. And that's what we want to fuel by providing the talent. So that's where what I was saying before, that we really like deep tech ideas. It's because we think the MENA will be the place to develop deep tech ideas because of this government incentive, this government support. All the free zones that are on the UAE, for example, itself, they're very, it's very easy to incorporate a company. It's very, the taxes, of course, it's a huge benefit.
A very big advantage.
And that's how they try to bring in talent. Then at Arrayah, we want to be the place where this talent can actually come and is retained within the UAE. And we've also seen a trend of, well, as I said before, the country is very new. So there's some basic infrastructure, such as the whole fintech scene, the whole retail scene, they were not present, right? Like from Amazon coming in recently to all the like fintech, credit cards, all of these kind of things, open banking. Now these things are happening. And it's going to be very interesting to see the new generation of funder, what they focus on. So this infrastructure layer is ready, or it's getting ready. The first unicorns are coming out of it. And now people can focus on, I would say, even bigger problems, like more ambitious problems, not bigger, more ambitious, more far-fetched. And that's where, again, where we want to position ourselves.
And do you think it's an advantage that we don't have sort of legacy incumbents? So for example, if I'm building an SF, my main concern is that Google is not building the same thing I'm building, or Amazon is not establishing a service that's going to kill my service. Do you think it's an advantage that we don't have sort of incumbents in the region that could just absolutely sort of kill, or what they say is just it inhibits innovation, or it makes you innovate gradually instead of innovate very quickly?
I think one day we will, of course, the Silicon Valley is an amazing ecosystem, and it's also a proof of concept for a place where there's so much innovation, the innovation just goes faster. There's so much talent that things just happen faster. And we want to replicate the same in Dubai. We believe in the next few years, again, I don't know exactly the time span, but the next probably 3, 4, 5 years, the amount of funders, the amount of companies, the amount of corporate, it's really pouring into the country. And so there's going to be more of that. But I don't think necessarily that's a problem. I think if someone wants to build, there will be no matter if like Spotify could potentially build the same product in 1 year. Like when someone is a builder, there's an urge to build, and they will do it. And then potentially they might even sell it to Spotify before the Spotify actually builds for it, right?
But I'm saying, well, I guess my question is to do with the idea of, if I'm building in the US, I have to think about all of those legacy incumbents that are there. Companies with a lot of talent, a lot of resources that can easily just build what I'm trying to do, right? So I'm thinking about a lot of external factors as well. But in here, we don't have these companies, which I think is a very big advantage, right? You don't have to think about somebody killing everything you're doing within the next 2 years, right? So you have more space to sort of push and innovate quickly. So again, I guess we'll see over the next few years. But if I was to sit down and look at the bigger picture, right? How do you determine your success in Arrayah? Because typically in the venture capital world, your performance is measured on a 6-year or 12-year basis. So it's very hard, or it takes a very long time for you to be able to determine whether what you're doing is right or wrong, how you can iterate. It's pretty much the complete opposite of what, the startup ecosystem sort of pushes for. So How do you determine your success?
So that's, I think, one of the reasons. When we started Arrayah, we're really thinking what we want to do here. And there's so many B2B SaaS that we could have started that would have probably had faster return in a matter of time. But me and Akshay shared this vision that this gap of the market, these young people are really underserved. And I'm sure you probably remember school, your elementary school. If you had a really good teacher, for example, I had a really good math teacher, the impact that she had on my whole life trajectory was insane. Like she really made me love for the
very true.
subject, all of that. We think something similar happens for a startup. So if building a startup is the hardest thing you can do and you have zero support for it, like your professors are not endorsing it, the university doesn't have infrastructure for it, you want to take a gap year and the only place you can be is at home because there's no other place around that you can build at. And it's really hard for you to find people that are on the same journey. That's just going to make it even harder and the innovation will just not happen. Arrayah is solving that problem. And we think that one of the metrics that we really want to have comes from the builder itself. So at the end of our cohort, we asked for a bunch of feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And the feedback was abundantly positive. Like people were really happy with the experience. And sure, that's one side of it. Of course, we need to figure out the money part to make it sustainable. But like the goal is to be able to impact as many people as possible while keeping the quality. As you were saying before, you can't just have 1,000 people cohorts because the quality of it will become lower. But then if you find the right people and you give them the initial validation, you like kind of tell them, I believe in you when they're like 15, when they're 18, the initial validation that you give them, it's gonna change their path. There's this one VC in San Francisco called 1517, which was started by the two people that originally started the Peter Thiel Fellowship. And they have this program called Medici Grant, where they give $1,000 grants, no strings attached, to very young builders who have a really ambitious idea. And then they started this a while back, and now there's stories of some of these builders who received the Medici Grant, who then went to raise like $1 million pre-seed fund, tens of $1 million Series A and Series B, etc. And they look back at all their raises, and they're like, the $1,000 that the Medici Grant gave me when I was like 18, it's the most impactful money that I've ever received because someone told me, I believe in you. Like when you're super young, you're like against the whole world. Someone believed in you. And that's what I do at Arrayah. If we are able to back these people, support these people, and I guess in a few years, see these people go out there and build insane companies, change the ecosystem, I think that's success for us.
This is very inspirational. Like, I really hope that this sort of happens. But the other part is, do you think you're fighting against cultural norms?
Yes, like,
So
yeah.
usually, like, I'll tell you what has been happening over the last 50 years. People have been pushing for the lower risk options.
Yeah.
Right? You need to go to college, you need to do this in your life, then think about XYZ. And in fact, that's why something that's very, very prominent here is that, I'll just give you an example. If there is a street and a sweet shop opened and the owners are actually able to sell, you'll find that multiple sweet shops sort of open. Because people like the idea of, how can I open something with minimal risk? But what you're encouraging is the absolute opposite. And that's why I'm questioning, do you think that you're challenging cultural norms, and how do you think you're navigating that sort of landscape?
Yes. It's not the standard for sure. Like, I agree with you. Like
Like
most people.
opposite again, very different to like Western.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a global shift when it comes to education. So again, we target younger people, which probably conventionally should be in college at the time they join Arrayah. I'm a big believer that working for someone else will teach you a lot, but it's basically someone else's passive income, right? Like you working for someone, you get paid on a monthly salary, and you're making someone else richer, wealthier. Again, it's a trade-off of time, learning, and skills. But I believe if you believe in yourself, if you know you can do good things, the best thing you can do for yourself is taking as much risk as you can, as in bet on yourself. These people, right? Some of them took a semester off. They could be just studying for classes, but they're like, I believe in myself. I believe I can build a crazy company. College is good, but it's not what I need. How do I bet on myself? I go full-time on my idea for 1, 2, 3 months. Let's see what happens after these 3 months. And well, a lot of people luckily have safety networks, safety infrastructure that if the idea after a certain period of time really doesn't work, they can go back probably to school, they can find another job, right? And I really think that the building process is the most learning rich thing that you can do. Even myself, I could have gone for a standard job, or I decided to then take a lot of risk and build Arrayah, which is again new venture, new business model. The amount of learning that I'm having from building Arrayah itself, I believe is probably the highest that I could have had from any other job. Again, standard job, corporate job. So yeah, it's definitely against the norm. It's definitely against the path that people go college and jobs. But we're trying to at least give people choice, right? If someone is a good fit for for a college, maybe someone wants to become a PhD, wants to do super niche research. Well, maybe Arrayah is not the best thing. If someone wants to build a company who already has the knowledge, they should be able to do that.
You know, I can tell you're very passionate about the problem just from the way you're speaking. So I'm curious if you've had any sort of personal experience before where you've tried to build something but found that the environment is just not helping, that's sort of fueling your day to day right now.
For sure. At NYU itself, I again studied mechanical engineering, and then at some point I found slowly discovered what startup were. I always thought that I love to solve technical problems, and I then realized that I love to solve problems in general. And I think I try to now pair technical and business. I think that's where problem actually can be impactful to the world. So I discovered what startup were, and I was like, this is super fun. Let me try to build some stuff. Again, silly ideas. It was just the very beginning. But then when I was building in my room alone, actually I was in New York at the time, it was like a very slow process, very time consuming, very draining, I would say, because I was trying to figure everything on my own. Came back to Abu Dhabi for my last semester. And that's where Vale Venture came in, met a bunch of other founders. They were as well struggling by building their first ventures. And then when we built together, it was just so much easier. We would just like wake up super early in the morning before school and then just like code together. And then it was just such a nice environment. And that gave me, I guess, some initial validation for like, you need people, like people just makes this whole process so much better. Let's do it. And then again, taking risk, I think it's something that I'm passionate about.
And I think also your co-founder your co-founder Akshat
Yeah.
has played a very, very big role in Antler.
Yeah.
And for those people that don't know, Antler is essentially building a community for founders, entrepreneurs, or people even out of corporate jobs that are looking to find their match in order to build businesses, find ideas, validate solutions, etc. They started off small, but now they have a portfolio value of over $4.7 billion. So it is very successful. So I'm curious, do you think Akshat also had some similar sort of barriers in his life that inspired him to also start this with you?
For sure. I think what he told me is that what the process at the whole Antler was an incredible journey for him. What he realized is the ideas that he was seeing at Antler, the one that he loved the most, were the ideas that were pushing the needle forward, the deep tech stuff, rather than consumer products. And that's why he was like, how do I help these people? How do I push the needle forward? And that's why Arrayah came up. And then he has the whole experience of accelerator. He ran program both in Australia, MENA, so he knows really well how the program structure works. And has definitely has been very impactful to the program at Arrayah itself.
But how did you guys meet? Because it's such a good intersection of experiences
Yeah.
that it can't be a coincidence.
Yeah,
Can it?
it's actually quite a coincidence. Shout out to Anne. She's a friend. The person who actually started Vale Venture in NYU Abu Dhabi became a friend at NYU Abu Dhabi. Then she went to work for Antler as well, and so she worked with Akshat. And
Okay.
then, and then some random time, Akshat was like, "Let me start building this," and she knew that I was building a hacker house, so I was trying to put people together.
No, wait. So he started building a hacker house.
Started building a community for deep tech in MENA.
Okay.
And I was trying to build a hacker house in Dubai.
Okay.
And so Anne was like, these two ideas are quite close. Let me connect these two people. And fun fact, I didn't know at the time, but the first call we had was, actually I was in Australia at the time. I was in Abu Dhabi, and it was his birthday. So like, it was literally meant to be. And then we called, we like hit it off. We're like, okay, we're doing something very similar. Let's see, let's keep talking. Let's see what happens. And then we're like, this is literally, let's just work together. It just makes more sense. And then he bought a one-way ticket to Dubai, moved to Dubai as well from Abu Dhabi, and then just
Love the one-way ticket
yeah,
strategy.
gotta again risk, right?
Yeah. This is very, very this is very good. You're pushing towards something which I'm also very passionate about. But I guess do you fear failure?
any startup has a high percentage, has a high probability of failure. Like it can happen, so many problems.
Like you're challenging a lot of stuff. Like we talked about
Yeah.
the business model itself. We talked about the culture norms. We talked about how the market is not yet where other markets are. Yet you're placing all your bets here. Um, so are you scared?
I'm not scared. I think like I've been very conscious about the decision that I made that led me here. And um, I'm really bullish on this. Like I think this will happen. I think we need this to exist here and anywhere around the world. And the first chapter validated that thesis. It was like people really needed this, people really wanted, and were really happy with the experience.
Mhm.
The idea is like, how do we make it sustainable? How do we make this something huge? Like it's in Dubai, it's amazing. Let's make it insanely good in Dubai, and for me, and let's expand. So of course, there's so many things that can go wrong, from regulations to like money problems. So many things can go wrong, but like I like to go with the flow in these kind of things. It's like put my best effort, and everything that is out of my control. There's very little I can do, right? I can try. I like my theory is like try as hard as I can. Once I tried everything, well, then I should be at peace with myself, and then let it go if it doesn't work. So right now we're working as hard as we can, for example, for chapter 2. And then if something happens, something goes wrong, the real estate market goes bananas, and then we can get a villa or something. I don't know. There's things that are out of control, right?
Yeah.
And that's gonna be fine. But like we're really trying to make this happen because we really think this is needed.
And you're documenting the process.
Yes, that's the best part.
So I wanted to hear more about that. Like, what's the
Yeah.
theory behind documenting the process?
Again, this is super new concept in MENA, right? So we're like, how do we make people aware of it? How do we make people interested in this? And the interesting thing that we already saw by putting out their content, so with these short clips for every builder, because again, these people need spotlight. They're amazing. No one has yet backed them. They really need the world to get to know them. So with these short clips for every builder, we're building a documentary for the Arrayah itself. So like where it started from literally me and Akshay moving apartments a bunch of time, trying to be scrappy as we were building for chapter 1, all the way to like getting the DFC support and the house and demo day. It was amazing. So we're building a documentary and we're putting all of this on social media. Like these days, content is king, right?
Yeah.
And building a brand is quite important when it comes to this thing. And we know it already, like this is paying off. So in chapter 1, very few people knew about us, just again, referral network. So we did a lot of like, I would say, pitching our idea to amazing builder, and some of these were like super active and again took a bet on us and they came. Now that we've been pretty loud on social, I would say, with like some interesting content, people are trickling in. We get a bunch of inbound people that are like, oh wow, you opened chapter 2, let me sign up. And I think that's another measure of success for us. And we want more and more of the inbound versus outbound to happen for future cohort as we build the brand, as we build credibility in MENA, as we get more and more support. There's a lot of entities around here that are very interested in what we're doing. So yeah.
Amazing. The last question is actually to do with just a simple comparison between Arrayah and YC. The reason why I say this is because YC is known to be one of the companies or one of the venture capital firms that are there to support very, very early stage ideas. But what's very interesting is that 6% of all YC-backed companies end up becoming unicorns. And just to put that into perspective, that means that 6 out of every 100 companies, which cost YC just around $10 million to seed, end up becoming unicorns, which is significant. So what do you think is the secret to their success? And how are you sort of playing on their strategy in order to build Arrayah? You know, when you mentioned that you want to back founders.
Yeah. YC has been around for a very long time. So they started like, I don't know exactly what year, but like a lot of years ago. And I think what they've been really good at is they had an amazing team. They found amazing companies to back from the very beginning. I think the first round, I forgot what the multiple was, but was something insane. And they started building the brand. And right now, actually, the capital they deploy is huge. So they do a lot of this, they call it spray and pray, right? Like they spread and pray, they invest in a lot of companies, and all of them will actually turn very successful. And what they've been able to do and how that happens is that the quality of the application they get is really high. Everyone's dream is to get into YC, right? Or a lot of people's dream is to get into YC.
The best founders.
And they've been able to build this dream in most of the founders' minds, so that the quality of the applicant they get is super high. It's really hard to get an interview in there, and when you get an interview, it's really hard to get in. So it's access game, as we talked before, right? The VC game is an access game. If you have access to the best founders, if you have access to the best ideas, and at the right time, your return are exponential. Arrayah just started. As I was saying before, we're starting to build a brand. That's a goal. And we believe that the bigger the brand, the more people know about it, the even higher quality of the funder we're gonna get. And they will trickle. It's gonna be, domino effect. You get better funder, you can invest in them, higher return. More people will be like, wow, if these people have hit jackpot once, they're gonna hit it again. Let me apply, trickling effect that will lead to.
So just playing on the access game.
I think access is the key here. Yeah, access to talent, access to ideas, access to markets.